Now excited to be joined by a very special guest. It is Kentucky defensive lineman, game record, whatever we want to call you. It is Deone Walker. Deone, I'm going to start with a little story here. At SEC Media Days, I sort of ran into you in the hallway and I saw your chain. And it, by the way, it's awesome for those who haven't seen it. It's like a bear with a crown, like a crown on it with the number 0 in it, like your number. And I asked you if I could take a picture of it, and you gave me this look that it was similar to like what my daughter gives someone that's attempting to hold her for the first time. It was perfect. So I'm wondering, because this is like before your podium session and all that stuff. I'm wondering, is this guy who just has no sort of like lack of aggression in a football game, is he going to be really shy when it comes to the podium and all that stuff? And I gotta say, you, Luther Burden the third, and probably like Tyler Booker. You guys were my favorite guys to talk to at media days. It wasn't so bad, right? Like we're not that terrible, the media.
Yeah, we just try to make the best of it. It's a it's just so great to be there. It's a great accomplishment, and just being trusted by Coach Stoops. Hey, it's all fun.
So I think that's the best way to kind of describe your game is disruptive. Speaking of Coach Stoops, how often have you been kicked out of practice just because you're too disruptive and the offense is like, man, we can't get anything done if you're going to be like this?
Uh, Only about like two, three times, couple scrimmages, but you know, this year our O line is we fighting.
Tell me about that because it's one thing to get kicked out of practice, like stuff happens in the heat of battle. You do something wrong, and it's like, all right, maybe I grabbed a guy's face mask that I shouldn't have. Maybe a coach sends me to the sideline, something like that. Is it almost a badge of honor to have a coach say you're too good right now, and you're too good for what we're trying to do?
Yeah, of course, one part of me wants to play, wants to keep going, wants to keep wreaking havoc, but the other part is like, dang, I'm really where I need to be.
So tell me what those battles have been like throughout your career. It was really well documented a couple of years ago with the offensive line, an area that, 22, you guys surprisingly struggled with that. And, to see it kind of progress where last year it improved. And I think you want to see it get even better. And it's probably a little bit of a double-edged sword for you because if you're dominating those matches every single time in practice, you're like, oh man, like I want these guys to get better. What have you kind of seen from them so far and kind of how that progression has gone?
Um, we got a bunch of guys. We got a I could say three or four leaders on our offensive line, with Eli Cox, Jack Burden, Marcus Cox, even Gerald Menzies. He's talking more. We threw him in the fire and he came out of it. So we got a bunch of guys. I can see that we turned into a well-oiled machine.
You said at media days that you were at about like 340 pounds. And I guess that was like close to a month ago. That was probably 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever it
Yeah.
was. And that you wanted to get down to about 320 pounds or 330, 325 pounds. Pass rush was a big part of that. You want to improve, get that extra second of speed. How do you feel like that's going to be able to elevate your game? How do you feel like you've made progress with that?
I feel like it's going to elevate my game a lot. My big or our big defensive line emphasis has been, you know, staying in there, anchoring down on the run. When you get those bump combos, when it is GT counter, and at this weight now, I feel like I got a good sense of that. But while still having the pass rush, I feel like I need to get my weight down, and it's going good. I'm still putting on more muscle while trying to drop the fat, so it's going great.
What'd you play at last year? Because the motor was question at all. I mean, I felt like I talked about that so much. Like the fact that you were at least listed at, I think, at 348, and all but once you played 50 snaps, which is just unheard of for a guy at your size. Like that just doesn't happen. So like what were you playing at? Like pretty much what was like your steadiest weight last year?
I'll say around like 335 to 340. And then later in the season, I got up to around like 345 at the most.
Is that normal for you? Like, do you gain weight like over the course of this? Like, like how does that work with the diet and maybe the conditioning like kind of changes? Like, how exactly does that typically go for you?
Yeah, I feel like it was just a big, workout change, and like last August, same as this August, I'm getting my own 2 days in with the strength staff, walking a mile on the treadmill, on the salt bike. That's horrible. But it's just the change of working out, and I got to do a better job at watching what I eat off of how many calories I'm burning throughout the day.
What's the toughest food to lay off of?
I'm a pasta guy, man. I'm a pasta guy.
What's your
Yeah.
favorite kind of pasta?
Chicken Alfredo.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be a tough one to kind of kick back. Is there like a food that you've picked up that you're like, you know what, this isn't the worst thing in the world, and being able to kind of eat more of this kind of gives me an excuse, or is it like, yeah, you know what, we're actually keeping it pretty tight with the nutrition program, all that stuff.
No, we keeping it pretty tight. I got a NIL deal with Jack Nutrition, uh prep meal place out here in Kentucky, in Lexington, Kentucky. They do a great job and they got a variety of things.
So I was going back to your high school stuff. Did you think you were going to play offensive tackle in college? Was that kind of the reason that you were playing both ways? That was never an option
Not
for
at
you?
all, not at all. I was playing both ways because I had the best feet, one of the best feet on the team. A couple schools wanted me for O tackle, got the perfect size and frame, but I knew in my heart and in my head I wanted to play D tackle.
What was that experience like playing both ways? Because it seemed like you would probably just be gassed by the end of the game doing that. Like at that size, that's just, I know it's like, well, it's one thing to do it when you're like a sophomore in high school, but to do it competitively, to do it like, a bigger school, I imagine that decision was probably a difficult one. And there were probably moments where you're like, man, it'd be nice to just be able to focus on one thing.
Yeah, it was fun, just playing with my guys. I didn't even really see that I was gassed because next play was coming up so quick. And I feel like it helped me a lot to get prepared for college, just to get my motor started, get my conditioning up. So I feel like I had a great transition.
You told me that you would throw down some nasty dunks. One like you do like the 180 two-handed slam. Like that's like the most athletic thing that you've been able to do. You played center on your team at Cass Tech. When Calipari was at Kentucky, did he ever say like, Dion, look, I know we typically, we look a little bit bigger. We're going for like 6'8", 6'9". You're gonna be playing in the post. But was he ever like, hey, Dion, like, come on, like, get some run. Let's see what you could do.
I wanted to, man. I was waiting for the text. And I'm on Mark Pope here too. I wanna get a little tryout in. I got it.
What would your game be like? Because are you like Charles Barkley at this point? Because you're 6'6", but at the same time, like, with all due respect, you should be playing in the post. You should be shooting threes, I would think.
Yeah, I got everything on my bag. In high school, I was really my senior year, I was really our facilitator. Catch the ball at the top of the key, run the offense. So I got some tricks up my sleeve. Let's just say that.
Okay, so you were like a Jokic in high school?
Man, I was doing everything.
What was the like best game that you had in high school? Like the game that you look back on and you're like, all right, I filled up the stat sheet. I felt pretty unstoppable.
Uh, I say it was our basketball homecoming game against Renaissance, another big high school out of Detroit. I had like double digit boards, like 6 or 7 assists, and like 10 points.
That's filling up the stat sheet. That's a Jokic stat line. Yeah, very, very much. Can you explain what it's like to be recruited by Nick Saban or Kirby Smart? Because I know you didn't end up there, obviously, but is there a story from getting recruited by one of those guys that kind of stood out?
Not really a story, but it's a great honor to get recruited by Nick Saban. He's the most respected head coach in the country. So it just felt great. I don't really have any stories. I've only been there, or I've been only been to Alabama like once for a camp, and but it was a great camp. I was tired, but it was a great camp.
Those camps seem really intense. They're like, we're gonna weed these guys out like as like sophomores or juniors, whatever it is. I know they change that stuff all the time. Like, did you notice a difference like going to all those camps where you're like, man, some of these are just crazy difficult, and this would probably be how it would be if I signed up to play here.
Um, yeah, I noticed different. Like every place is different, but Alabama, so we was barrel rolling, forward, backwards roll, and that was just a warm up.
Lord. Michigan wasn't a finalist for you. I saw, even though they gave you your first offer. It's the big in-state school. What's that like growing up, where you probably hear about Michigan. You can't go anywhere without hearing about Michigan.
Yeah.
Why did that maybe not appeal to you as much? Because I think oftentimes if you're turning down the in-state school, it's you know what, they kind of came on to me late. They didn't really show that interest in me. But if they were kind of coming on to you early, like what was kind of the relationship like with them?
Yeah, it was a great relationship. I got a bunch of old teammates at the University of Michigan, Raheem Anderson. I got a bunch of friends that go there. I just feel like it wasn't the place for me. If I could go back and do it again, Kentucky would be my first choice again.
Harbaugh come into your lunchroom and just be like, "Dion, what are we doing here?" Like that anything like that ever happen?
Few times, yeah.
All right, tell me about that, because the Harbaugh recruiting stories, we've seen the stuff that goes viral, and when he jumps into a pool to be able to sign a kicker or whatever that was, the sleepovers and all that's like, but what's it like actually seeing him like walking in your high school and be like, all right, this guy's, as the kids say, he's got an aura about him.
Yeah, he's like a celebrity in Detroit. He's a great coach. Um, I remember the first time he walked in, it was, I want to say my junior year, and I just got put on to, I was in my lunch period. I was chilling, eating. I look back, I had to like double take. And then I get a phone call from my head coach like, hey, you just looked at us. Come over here. Coach Harbaugh want to talk to you. Man, I had butterflies in my stomach.
And of course, Harbaugh probably like criticized what you were eating for lunch. He's like, "Oh, is that like chicken or something like that?" He's got like, "Why aren't you drinking like the tallest glass of milk you could probably find with his weird shit face?" All that stuff. Yeah, look, I think it's always fascinating for the out of state guys that end up at Kentucky, because we always talk all the time about like Stoops' presence in the Midwest and like why he recruits so effectively to that specific area. When did you know Kentucky's the place for me? This is where I want to end up. I think I have a path to become everything I want to be and then some.
Um, I really didn't know until like that night of like before early signing day. Um, I had conversations with Coach Harbaugh, Coach Stoops. Um, then my dad asked me what I was gonna do. I really had no idea because they were my top two. Then I prayed that night, asked God, like, hey, show me where you want me to go. Then I even 5 minutes later, Coach Stoops called me again. And I'm like, okay, I got you.
Does Take me through what that process is like of getting to know him, because I think he's kind of wired a little bit like a throwback guy. And for some people, maybe it's not their thing and he can rub you the wrong way. And then for others, it's like, yeah, I mean, I want to go to bat for this guy. And I know you talked about like, you've already talked about like the Texas A&M stuff and all that, like how you called him right away and you're like, hey, what's up? Like just be real with me. Just let me know what's up, what's going on, because I'm seeing all this stuff on the internet. But like, what has your relationship been like with Stoops these last few years?
It's a great relationship. He's like the uncle that I always needed but never asked for. I can call him about anything. He's going to be an open ear. He doesn't care who you are, where you came from. He's going to treat you the same. And he is an old school coach. Like he would have us out there for 10 hours if he could. So, but as long as we get our work done, he's the nicest guy in the world.
I know you're a fan of NIL. It's something that's benefited you, but you also, have talked about how you think it's something that has maybe made too many guys commit to the wrong places. If you could make changes to NIL based on your experiences so far with it, what would those changes look like to just the system as a whole?
Hmm. I never really thought about that, but my number one is the guys that's loyal to me. Like no freshman come in and get money, because if I offer you 100 or 50 to 100, and then this other school offer you 200, you're not mature enough to know who has more loyalty. So you're going to go to a higher number, you know, to where our third and fourth year guys that's really already bought in, put in the work, and have flashed on the camera in the SEC, they, they're living good.
Yeah, it's interesting because like you step into a situation where you're playing right away and you're earning that in a much different way than probably most true freshmen are. Most true freshmen, it's like, yeah, I mean, you could be getting NIL money for this, and this, but you're not even on the traveling roster and you're still figuring out like how in the world to get to class and do all these different things. How much did you feel right away? Because you enrolled like you weren't an early enrollee either. Like when you
No.
get to campus and you start playing and you realize like, oh, I can do this effectively at this level, even though I wasn't some top 50 recruit or anything like that. Like how quickly did your perspective change of, oh my gosh, like I actually belong here?
I say it was like I knew that I belonged there. I knew that I belonged here. I'm not I don't like to be like I'm a humble person. I don't like to be like outgoing cocky, but I know what I can do. I know how I was brought up. I'm not going to get into any trouble. You know, I promised my mom that hey, if I went out of state for classes or for school, she wouldn't have to worry about my grades again. And the football part, that's all on me. You know, it's all about my work ethic. I love my high school defensive line coach, Coach Nick Martin. He really instilled that in me and showed me like nobody's going to give it to you, so you got to go and take it.
Tell me what's been the most surreal thing about these last 2 years, because it really has been 2 years since you arrived on campus and now to be seeing yourself all these mock drafts and stuff like that and preseason All-American. And you could say, yeah, I just try and block off the noise and everything. That's all well and good. But I imagine there's been a moment or two where you've looked up and been like, dang, this happened so quickly.
Yeah, I look back and I miss those days. I miss those days where I was just coming in with the rest of my freshman class. We all in each other rooms, laughing, playing the game. But it has felt so surreal, just having to come up, be a leader, be a captain so quick. I feel like that's like the most surreal moment because now looking back, I was a captain team captain at 19 in the school in the SEC, so it's just it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's really rare. And I feel like I've been talking about guys that can do that. Like a Harold Perkins is in that spot. Nick Scorton is someone that was doing that last year. And it is amazing to think about being 19 years old and have all that responsibility. Speaking of responsibility, coverage responsibilities, that's maybe my favorite thing to talk about with you. Last year, the Florida play, where you drop back into coverage, you force the interception. Can you take me through that? Because that is still one of the most impressive things I think I've seen from a defensive lineman at the college level.
Hey, all I remember is Coach White telling me, if it's a pass, draw for five, get big, and kill somebody. I had to.
Does that come up in pregame? Like, are you, or do you know that that's in part of the game plan that there's going to be one of those opportunities waiting for you? Because you guys didn't you call the isn't the play for you to drop back like that called Gator? So I imagine that was like you knew on Wednesday that was going to happen.
Man, I knew he put it in, but he was like, I don't know if we're gonna run it, but if we do, it's your chance. And we ran it a couple times in practice. So he saw that I got the feel for it. You know, the footwork was good. So he really just said, F it.
I think your coverage grade on PFF is like a 99 as a result of that. I think you only ended up playing three
Stuff.
coverage snaps. That's all that matters. How do you not say after that, like, Coach Stoops, come on, just give me one a week. Just give me one a week to be able to do this. You had to be banging the drum to be able to do that the rest of the season.
Yeah, I was begging, and then I was begging for the ball. Hey, I'm a skill position now.
It's unbelievable that play for those who haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Florida fans probably remember it all too well. This has been great, man. I really appreciate the time. I want to get you out of here on a little bit of rapid fire. Just 5 questions. First thing that comes to mind. Does that work for you?
hmm
All right, first one. Got to be near and dear to your heart. Detroit style pizza, overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
Properly rated, properly.
I'm stunned you didn't say underrated because I'm a Chicago suburbs native and I think it's underrated. Like I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it could like you got to be in the mood for it though.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Not everyday pizza, but like, like I
yeah,
say with deep dish, it's like holiday pizza,
yeah.
There's a place for that, definitely. Okay, speaking of food, what is your go-to post-game meal?
Um, what time was the game?
Ooh, that's a good question. How about I can't say 3:30 on CBS anymore. That brings a little tear to my eye. I hate that. Let's talk okay, let's just say noon game. Let's say a
Okay.
noon game and anything is on the table. You're eating at like 4 or 5 o'clock, whenever that is.
Okay. Probably probably a Chipotle bowl or some tropical smoothie.
Okay. Chipotle
Yeah.
order. What are you
Ooh.
going? Do you go double meat? Is that the default?
Yeah. White rice, double chicken, no beans, queso, sour cream, guac, and veggies.
That's a good order. And bowl,
Yeah.
not burrito, because the burrito falls apart, then ends up being a bowl anyways, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. You're a good person to ask this to because you're originally from the Midwest. What do you think is the perfect football weather?
Ooh. I say me being, yeah, okay. Mid 70s.
Okay, so everybody from like your area, I feel like that I talked to is like, no, it's got to be like below freezing. You got to be out there just like, full winter jacket and stuff like that. That's why you came to the SEC right there.
Yeah, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, but I don't really mess with the cold, man.
I don't blame you. I don't want to be uncomfortable at a game like that. Okay, what's your favorite thing to do on a football field?
Favorite thing to do like mid game?
It can be, how about your favorite thing to do post snap? So it can be stuff a run, it can be rush the passer, it could be drop into coverage, whatever.
I'll say stuff to run on the 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, ain't a better feeling than that.
There was the one against Clemson too that I think it was like 3rd and 2 or something like that. That was a pretty big, yeah, that was, it looks like you were having fun, is what I was saying.
Yeah.
All right, last one for you. I ranked you number 5 among my best SEC players returning for this upcoming season. Did I disrespect you?
Of course.
All right, where should I have put you?
I'm confident, bro. I feel like top 2, top 3. I'll give you top 3.
Okay, who would have been ahead of you?
Top 3. No, I'm number 1, but like, top 3. But we got a bunch of guys in the SEC, uh, even just, we got James Pierce, we got Luther Burden, we got even Walter Nolan, we even got Maxwell that's right downstairs. He better be top 10, man.
All right, we'll save that
Uh,
discussion. We'll save that discussion for off air. We'll save that. Yeah, look, hey, a couple of those. I mean, Luther Burden was one. I had Pierce. I had Pierce at 3. Will Campbell, I had at 2, and then I put Harold Perkins at 4. So those are the guys ahead of you. Not slouches, in my opinion.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
respectable.
I feel like, yeah. Hey, we just got some work to do.
Exactly, exactly. Hey, this is preseason. This could be number 1 by season's end. The season's end stuff that matters a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, this has been awesome, man. Really appreciate the time. Looking forward to watching this year.
Yes, sir. Thank you.